Wikipedia trying to do everything they can to, to pretend that history didn't happen, and they're trying to retroactively change everything.
Wait, what are you talking about? Y'all refuse to learn the history. That's the whole point of this. That's why it's really funny. Like, you're just sitting there, like, celebrating these downvotes when IGN is like, hey, by the way, just so for all these weird racists who are now popping up in our comments and stuff, Yasuke was actually a real historical figure. If you didn't know, we'd love to teach you. Here's some information on it. And it's like, no, as you can see here, comrades, we have done it. Ugh, this is better than sex in every single way. Every downvote counts as you getting laid. It's amazing. We're all having collectively the best year of our lives. We've been covering too much real news today. Okay, so we need to go back into the wild world of the video game manosphere and learning about why video games are getting destroyed by titty cleavage lacking and wokeness and DEI and bridge and other scary acronyms that I haven't fully explored yet. Okay, it's time for Goonergate. Never forget what they took from you.
The controversy surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows has been
that you created for money, getting mad because you didn't actually know this was a historical figure. How many times do you think we're going to hear Yasuke, which I do know how to pronounce because we looked it up? And how many times do you think it's going to be pronounced Yasuke, Yasukai, Yasuke?
Hilarious to say the least, and it has been fun to watch this entire thing play out right before our very eyes. The internet widely rejecting this, destroying this every time it's brought up, ratios galore. And
so I have some great news, by the way. So the weirdos who were upset about this, mostly white, angry, racist people in America specifically, were saying that, like, this was just a really bad idea for a number of reasons. But one, that this erases the stories of Japanese samurai. And why don't we have more stories of Japanese samurai? Now, they were all completely silent during, say, a whole bunch of other white characters being in video games. You've obviously seen Neo is one of the examples where they have a white samurai as protagonist. Films like The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise, or the new series Shogun, even though Shogun isn't a full samurai in the first season. I don't want to give any spoilers there. But again, there are countless, endless, numerous examples. Oh, 47 Ronin, that's another example of a film with Keanu Reeves as the starring lead, although I believe Keanu Reeves is multiracial, so I guess maybe that one is a loose example compared to the rest of them. But this is particularly upsetting to a lot of people because it features Yasuke, which again historically was a real historical figure who was a black samurai, and I know that there's a lot of people online who suddenly became samurai experts overnight. Yes, they studied the blade and then some to come forward and say, well, actually wasn't a samurai, he was a retainer, which, yes, by definition would still classify him as a samurai. But either way, Japanese people outpouring of love when this game got released, and the trailer, a whole bunch of Japanese artists started making this adorable art in relation to the game. It became on Amazon Japan, I believe, the #1 trending game shortly after. All the people were freaking out about it. It seems like people in Japan were very excited for the story to be told and aren't nearly as fucked up, weird, and racist as the American fans that are trying to speak on the behalf of the Japanese people that they think are upset because this game features a black samurai, as well as a Japanese woman, but again, woman, femoid, wokeness,
And IGN specifically seems to think that this is the hill to die on right here. Now, recently, I had talked about IGN saying, like, as bad as Kotaku is and Polygon and some other of these mainstream sites, IGN seems to have gotten back to basics in a lot of ways. But when it comes to this particular game, they are showing their ass, and they are getting owned all over the place.
By trying to teach you history? If you're surprised to see an African man in feudal Japan, you may not know his fascinating true story. This is Yasuke, known widely as Japan's first black samurai, and the first real historical person to be playable protagonist in an Assassin's Creed title.
The quartering tweeted out, says, IGN endlessly ball washing Yasuke is wild to see.
There's the first one.
I've never seen them stand for something this hard in history. Ad revenue must be drying up. If you're
As someone, I'm assuming, quartering who's never washed himself before, so has no idea about what it is to have clean balls, I don't understand what you feel is being, in this case, washed by presenting people with history. Because I think a lot of people who got mad about this didn't even know that he was a real historical figure. Like, they defaulted to black protagonist, wokeness, and then afterwards everyone was like, oh, whoa. I think y'all went a little too fast on this one. You should have slowed down, typed Yasuke into Google, and then seen the Wikipedia article pop up, and then maybe been like, oh, okay, well, while we do know that this was in fact a historical figure, I don't want to come across as a racist, so I'm gonna be like, you know what? He was a retainer. He was a retainer, not a samurai. It's not historical in the game that otherwise has complete historical accuracy.
You're surprised to see an African man in feudal Japan. You may not know his fascinating true story. This is Yasuke, known widely as Japan's first black samurai and the first real historical person to be a playable protagonist in Assassin's Creed. And as you see right here, a glorious ratio. That tweet has been
It's every time. We did it, comrades. We did it. Another victory for the white race. We ratioed. We downvoted.
You can go into the replies and you can see
we downvoted in the Reddit threads. We downvoted in the 4chan posts. r/poll. We never acquiesced in the YouTube ratio.
Absolute bangers from all of the fans out there, just crushing IGN every step of the way. It is brutal. It is.
Yeah. This will show you to try and teach real history. Crux.
It's brutal beyond belief. Right here.
You know what's funny is when people who aren't used to how weird these sections of the internet are get exposed to them for the first time, it's oftentimes just a response with like, yeah, a lot of really weird people in the replies. I don't know what's going on there. You know, all we did was make a post that was basically like, this game looks fun. Hopefully it's going to be a fun action game in the same way that Bayonetta was or something like that. And they're all saying that we're apparently denying them titties or something, or titty skin. And they're getting really mad about like the 25% titty skin in the third alternative costume. I have no idea what they're talking about. I was just writing an article about how the game looked like it could be a fun action game. Again, hopefully it's going to be more Bayonetta and not just like, you know, pointless objectification, and that's it.
You have it right here. IGN going out of their way to defend the giant corporation. Representation matters only when it's convenient to them. Cultural appropriation is okay when they...
This isn't cultural appropriation by definition. This is a real historical figure. There has been cultural appropriation done in the Assassin's Creed games, and there's also been a lot of characters, all of them up to this point, that aren't based on real historical figures. This is the opposite of that.
Do it. Let's not pretend we're mad. The new Assassin's Creed Shadows Samurai isn't Asian. That is from IGN, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy how they are just continuing to do everything they can to stand on this nonsense and destroy their brand and their company over it. It's just unbelievable. You've got all types of stories right here that IGN is just pushing, and Grums is obviously doing a great job of logging a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, they're basically pleading with all the weirdos who have taken this as their new cause, again, to replace actual forms of oppression with fake oppression, being like, oh yeah, this is a cause, a calling. We need to get to that YouTube trailer and downvoted, comrades. Yes, we did it. We achieved the ratio. It's been downvoted into oblivion. Oh, IGN is trying to teach us history. Get them. Go get them, boys. Get into that. Look at that absolute devastating ratio. And now we're keeping track of every single time they tried to teach us something.
Stories with IGN going out of their way.
Now, here's where the Asmongold's and the rest of the people who don't want to just come across as extreme racists get to do their enlightened centrism and be like, I'm just trying to talk to you about something that's real, which is how fucked up these massive corporations like Ubisoft are, in that they charge you fuck tons of money for these games and they want to get you on subscription services and you think you bought the full game, but look at this. If you buy the standard edition, which is already $69.99, which is a lot of fucking money to spend on something, you only get the base game. But then if you spend $109.99, you get the base game plus the season pass plus the 3-day early access, which again, you can play the game before anyone else. If you spend $129.99, you also get the ultimate pack. You could also just get a subscription service. You could pay $17.99 a month, basically the same cost as two video streaming services, but instead it's specifically to subscribe to this little, we give you the Ubisoft Plus, you get the Ubisoft Games Pack, you also get the Ultimate Pack for this edition, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyone who is criticizing the racist weirdos for getting mad about this is also going to criticize this. Absolutely, it's fucked up. I'm not here to defend Ubisoft, the company. Ubisoft sucks. All the AAA game companies do. They're brutal. They treat their employees like absolute garbage. They're rife with fucking sexual harassment, racial discrimination. They make people work abhorrent hours. They're not unionized. They should all be fucking unionized. And they fucking just want to grease and squeeze players for every last fucking cent that they have. Get them onto these expensive games, make them only get a quarter of the game they think they paid for, and then make them buy all this fucking egregious DLC after the fact, stuff that should have been included in the first place, or get addicted to loot boxes, or have to use in-game currency to then buy things on the the marketplace, sometimes just for like aesthetics. It doesn't even like affect the gameplay. Yeah, that's garbage. That's crap. Also, y'all are racist as fuck. Two things can be true at the same time, you know?
You've got the pricing for the game, which is absolutely out of control, which universally is hated, which honestly everything that they're doing is universally hated.
Hades 2 is so good so far. Awesome. I gotta wait until the hype dies down on Hades 2. I played through and finished Hades 1, and that was like years after everyone was really into it. And that was good for me, because as someone who doesn't have as many free hours to grind into a very difficult video game that's very, very difficult to control and play and die and climb and grind over and over and over, it was nice to just do it like off to the side where people couldn't ask like, so how far are you, Lance? Oh, I definitely have gotten past the first boss. Cool, you got past the second one?
But the pricing of the game is next level. And this is what IGN is taking up for. If you go over to their YouTube account, look at these ratios. Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer explains secrets, theories, and details you might have missed. Almost 7,000 downvotes right there. Nearly 7,000. Here's another.
So they did the same thing during Gamergate, by the way. Gamergate, it was all about ethics and gaming journalism. Not the very idea that women bad, criticism of popular media bad, having any kind of feminist framework to analyze video games by bad. No, none of that. It was that women are seducing men and they're using their titties and their vaginas for evil, and they're basically getting favoritism for game reviews in exchange for sex when their games aren't even that good, and we have to destroy them, and we must destroy them all now. This is about ethics. Ethics, I say.
Other one, 10,000 downvotes to only 2,000 upvotes.
It's not hard to brigade a video. Well, no, it's more like, it's not just like Geeks and Gamers does brigading, where they're like, all right, here's the next target, everyone go after them, which they also do, right? They don't have to say even go after them. They just celebrate the fact that they're getting these kind of downvotes. But it's as soon as this entire weird section of the gamer community has picked their next target, that's all they care. Have you heard anyone talk about Stellar Blade? Including Grums, who was so upset about that he was willing to get a 100,000 signature petition printed out, travel to Korea to hand over to the gaming company so that they can actually restore the original 25% titty skin. He doesn't talk about that anymore because it wasn't about that, because he legitimately wasn't actually fighting for some valiant cause that he really deeply cared about. All of it is about the outrage, keeping you mad and upset and then moving on to the next thing, and then keeping you mad and upset and then moving on to the next thing. And right now they're mad and upset and they're not even willing to learn a little bit of history. It's like, did you want to learn that this is actually history? No! Downvote. Look at this. Negative 10,000 to 2,000.
And bam, here we go. 23,000 downvotes to 6,000 upvotes. This is the hill that apparently IGN wants to die on. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. And if you go,
I'm sure IGN has no idea what the fuck is going on in this. I'm sure if they're like, all right, so we're going to do what we always do. By the way, I'm not here to defend IGN. IGN also sucks, okay? This entire, and what should be reported on when it comes to video games, the AAA game companies usually working in conjunction with mainstream video game publications where they get early access to their games. Their reviews are going to be a little bit skewed or slanted, and sometimes you can definitely see that there is a pay-to-play scheme going on in that you will be able to review our game in time to get your review out and get all your guides out and stuff that we know makes you money if you're a little bit more favorable to us. People who criticize us and our business practices, such as Kotaku, we're not going to give you early access because fuck you, you're criticizing our company. Hey, we're going to give it to the people who just know how to play, who know how the whole system works. Call that shit out. Right now, they're doing what they always do, which is, you know, promote mainstream. They act as kind of like, you know, promotional material, the second arm in advertising for these companies by saying, here's all this cool shit that you get to see in the video game that they do. But now it's going to be like, why the fuck did this get 23,000 downvotes? Oh, the racists were here. The weird racists were here.
Over to the trailer itself. Let's do a refresh and see where we're at on the dislikes on this trailer.
We got a live counter, everybody. It is happening. We are already we're about to hit it. Come on, folks, you can get there. Negative 600,000 downvotes. Absolutely incredible. We're changing the world. All of us are getting laid tonight.
598,000 downvotes. It's closing in on 600,000 downvotes. It has more than doubled the upvotes. The controversy is out of control. So IGN is writing nonsensical article over nonsensical article. You've got Wikipedia trying to do everything they can to, to pretend that history didn't happen, and they're trying to retroactively change everything.
Wait, what are you talking about? Y'all refuse to learn the history. That's the whole point of this. That's why it's really funny. Like, you're just sitting there, like, celebrating these downvotes when IGN is like, hey, by the way, just so for all these weird racists who are now popping up in our comments and stuff, Yasuke was actually a real historical figure. If you didn't know, we'd love to teach you. Here's some information on it. And it's like, no, as you can see here, comrades, we have done it. This is better than sex in every single way. Every downvote counts as you getting laid. It's amazing. We're all having collectively the best year of our lives. Look at the downvotes. Amazing, amazing. I knew you could do it.
We're standing for diversity bullshit. And when you do that, when you've made it clear that your company is going to take a position on certain topics, it's over. That's why Geeks and Gamers, as a company, doesn't have any opinion. The individuals at Geeks and Gamers can have whatever opinions they want, but as a company, we're not going to take any position on anything, because that's not what companies should be doing. The people that are there should be able to voice their opinions based on whatever the company is covering, and that should be how it always is. You
cowards, then. Jesus. Wouldn't you apply those same rules to IGN? Wouldn't you be like, well, I don't know if this is IGN the company. This could be just one of the author's opinions. It doesn't necessarily reflect that of IGN's, but I stand for nothing. Nothing. If you don't follow Lil Bill, here is the link to the channel.
For all that don't know, Assassin's Creed is a historical sci-fi franchise that, along with being the reason behind the surge in your local Masonic Lodge's membership, was one of my favorite gaming franchises of my late adolescence and early adulthood. Well, I mean, that is until the Desmond story went more left in communism and the whole genre just became baby's first Elden Ring, basically. So since the franchise's inception, fans have been basically begging the devs to set the genre in feudal Japan because, you know, Japan is to single white men what Ghana is to upper middle class black professionals. Basically, what I'm saying is they think Japan is just an IRL RPG and that they're the MC. So yeah, that Samurai Zone in Westworld pretty much, but with lollies and Pokemon. And if there's one thing that white people do not like seeing in their fantasies, it's black people. Unless it's a sexual fantasy, of course. I mean, we are good for something, obviously. The trailer for the new AC game dropped like a day or two ago, depending on when this actually goes up. And it features a digital render of a black Christ portrait cast in the role of Yasuke, the first black samurai. And oh boy, you can imagine how the First World Problem Committee responded to that one. Like, even the Bad Hairline Brigade got in on the act, bitching and moaning over nothing that couldn't be answered adequately with a Google search, or literally the cover art, which features a Japanese woman alongside him as a playable character. But again, folks, anything less than a G cup and a thong kimono and she's too woke to be noticed, let alone playable. Never mind the fact that this is the first time in the series that the MC is an actual historical figure, or the fact that he was in close enough proximity to all three of Japan's great unifiers that they could all easily be roped into the plot. Not to mention Honda Tadakatsu, Date Masamune, and Akechi Mitsuhide, who, I mean, literally fought against Yasuke at the Honoji incident. You know, the guy that Yasuke surrendered his sword to, the guy who killed Nobunaga. Like, anyone who's halfway creative can already see how this shit basically writes itself. And the rest of y'all would see it if you actually took the time to walk outside and take a bath every now and again. And no, not a shower, nigga, a bath. Like, you need to soak all that Cheeto dust and doodle crust from out of your fingernails and butt crack before you can re-enter civilized society. Like, I am so serious. Like, some of y'all smell like you've been hotboxing your own farts for so long that your taste buds are just preset to ass now. Like, for real, it's time to put the controller down and hit up the Bath and Body Works, bucko. Actually, no, don't do that. Just order it off Amazon. There are actually other people outside, believe it or not, and they ain't gonna appreciate, you know, you coming in smelling like ass. Anyway, I want to make this clear that the outrage over Yasuke's inclusion has little, if anything, to do with Asian representation, because not only are Sekiro,
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's concern trolling, right? I think so many people got outraged just because their default setting is like, whoa, black person, woke, woman, playable character. Is she super hot? Massive tits? Can I see the tits? I can't. Woke, super woke. Yeah, no tits. It's woke. And then it's like, all right. So in this case, this happens to be a real historical figure, of which, like, if you actually look at the story, it would be and make for an incredible game, an incredible story, period. I'm surprised it hasn't been told more, to be completely frank with you. Maybe that's something worth exploring. But then at that point, it was kind of like, oh, okay, so it's not about that. Sorry, it's not about the fact that we didn't know that he wasn't a real historical figure. It's that he wasn't a samurai, he was a retainer. I saw that on Wikipedia. So there's that. And also, Japanese people are going to be really upset about this because they're going to want representation, and they're not getting it in the game, of which they have representation as one of the two playable characters in this game. And then it turns out that was completely wrong, and that was just weird, again, racist white gamers in America saying, because Japanese people were like, oh, this looks fucking awesome. They were drawing fan art to the game, and multiple people in Japan, including a descendant, I believe, of one of the lords that Yasuke interacted with, like an actual living descendant of one of them, was like, y'all are just being weird and racist as fuck. This is actually a part of our history. Why are you trying to tell us what we're supposed to enjoy as content?
Samurai Warriors and Ghost of Tsushima, among others, right freaking there. Y'all were not bitching this hard about a movie based on the Boshin War, the literal end of the samurai age that starred Tom freaking Cruise of all people. It's not even about historical.
And I'm sorry, I gotta ruin The Last Samurai. If spoiler warning, if you haven't seen it yet, it's got to be at least 20 years old. But like, not only, and this is, hey, I'm not here to cancel The Last Samurai. 'Tis a fine movie. I was entertained. Did we not all have a fun time? Indeed. But that ending scene is so wild when you think about the fact that Tom Cruise is the only one who lives. Like, he unites with all the rest of the samurai for this valiant final battle where they're up against the fucking British, who have this new demon technology. It's Gatling guns, and they're unleashing the pure hellfire upon them, and they all just get mowed down, and it's so sad to see all these noble warriors who would never do something so cowardly and cheap as just fucking firing guns instead of doing a fair fight. They had honor. They lived and died by honor. They would just kill themselves if they didn't have enough honor, kind of shit. And then he's the last motherfucker. Just the last. I don't know how. It's just like, again, seeing people all mowed down. Just finally, you know, crawling out there. It's like, because someone had to tell the story. Okay, and you can't have the white guy die. I mean, people want to be able to leave the theaters and be like, well, that was a good story. I enjoyed it. Yes, historical, I say.
It's not even about historical accuracy, because not only was, yes, Yasuke a samurai, according to one, the way that term had evolved by the Sengoku period, but two, and more importantly, actual Japanese people and historians. But we're talking about a franchise where you literally fist fight and strangle the Pope to near death before finding God locked in a dungeon under the Vatican.
Sorry, I didn't know that. That's a mission? That's pretty metal. That's more metal than I thought Assassin's Creed would be.
Yeah, y'all missed out back then, for real, man. It's the simple fact that a certain demographic of miserably undersexed white people always seem to get their testes twisted when they're forced to acknowledge the existence of black people outside of porn or poverty. Like, for real, y'all, let's stop all this cap.
or like pop music, famous athletes, famous actors, but that's about it, That's it. Sometimes politicians, but only if they're the right kind of politician. But like, what does that tell you?
About, well, a game set in Japan should have a Japanese MC. It's only right because, one, again, she's right freaking there. And two, y'all didn't have a problem with Phantom Pain, Far Cry 3, RE5, Modern Warfare 3, and a bunch of other games that had you playing a white man killing black people in Africa. Matter of fact, now I think about it, that might actually be the reason why y'all bought those games in the first place, because Lord knows y'all can't even be bothered to look a black man in the face IRL. So I guess this is the next best thing to actually growing a pair. And I think I know why. Remember what I said about Japan basically being an IRL RPG to a bunch of weebs? Japanese people are basically just real life NPCs to that lot. So it's easier to project onto them than black or brown people for what should be obvious reasons. And this is especially true when it comes to anime. Like these.
And also, we're talking about games, video games and movies, usually sometimes in fantasy realms. I mean, yes, now we're dealing with historical fiction, but for the most part, usually the outrage is surrounding Star Wars. Star Wars. It's not real life. Lord of the Rings. There's a black elf in Lord of the Rings. Okay? Yeah, that's not historical. In what? In the world of wizards and hobbits? Like, not historically accurate enough for you? Okay.
Howdy, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that for the cost of a cup of coffee, you can unlock bonus uncensored episodes of Mind Explosions by going to patreon.com/the Serfs. Our videos couldn't exist without your support, and all our content is released early to our Patreon subscribers, as well as a ton of extra content you can't get anywhere else. Please like, subscribe, and thumbs up this channel, and if you're feeling extra perky, share it anywhere you think people would like to see or learn from our videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We first want to give a shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. This program is produced thanks to the generous support of our Patreon supporters: Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbar Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Bomey, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, and Words Greenwood. As well as every other person you see on the screen right now, this show would not be possible without them. And if you want to join these wonderful people who make this entire program possible, simply go to patreon.com/theserfs and you can unlock uncensored and bonus episodes and, help us exist.